Wednesday here Pacific time. Now we're getting deep into November 7th, 2018. And in my opinion, in some ways we're a lot better than we were 5 years ago, and in some ways we're worse. How could that be, Joe? Well, because in a lot of ways, we're duped. We believe we've accomplished things that we haven't accomplished. And we feel that because we passed some little measure or some little thing, that the work is done. Or that we're taking baby steps, so it's okay. But we still have people in prison for this plant that we all celebrate and use as we see fit, and start businesses, and millions and billions of dollars are getting invested, and people are experts, and the labs are labbing, and the people are doing this, and all of this stuff's happening. And yet every single day people are getting arrested, charged, the trauma, the PTSD, all the things negative that are connected with prohibition are still happening today as they ever were. And in some ways they're happening worse than they ever were. And we're blind to it now because we passed a law. We got legalized it. We made it to where somebody can do something somewhere, somehow, and not have to worry so much. We did that. Good job. I appreciate that. But I wish that we would have thought out what we did a little better. I wish that we would be committed to the end game a little better. And I wish that we wouldn't keep going as though nothing is still wrong, because there's still people locked up today, right now, in all aspects of our prison system, in county jails, in holding cells, in state prisons, in federal prisons. People have had their assets seized. They've lost their children. They've lost their jobs. They've had their homes taken. They have died because they weren't able to get the medicine that they needed to stay alive. They've undergone endless trauma in courtrooms across America and across the world. And still happening. And we like to have scapegoats and blame this person or that person. Don't even get me started on that unless you have some real facts you want to bring into a real conversation and sit down and be dissected by the truth, because that's what will happen. I welcome you. I welcome anybody to tell me how this is any one person's fault, except for our own. I welcome you to explain to me how these little victories end up with the end game, that this is just going to happen because it's going to happen. I welcome you to explain to me why this plant needs to be taxed and regulated. But if you're willing to get into that conversation, be willing to get into a serious conversation. And yeah, Jeff Sessions got fired by Trump. And for everybody who thinks that that's our salvation, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about a lot of things. But first, let's just start the show. That's sort of just an initial salvo rant. I got a lot of words in me today. Hopefully my voice will hold out. I appreciate everybody coming out here. This is A Cup of Joe, brought to you by the Coffee Party Radio Network. And the show itself is brought to you by The Human Solution and me, Joe. We got Lisa Wooldridge here, Vice President of The Human Solution International. She is running the Facebook cesspool stream. And yep. I am operating the YouTube, hopefully not cesspool stream. Currently right now I got Colleen and hopefully Bobby. How's it going? Patrice, how you doing, Patrice? Mike and Sarah, hopefully you guys will call in, tell us what happened in Kansas. Glenn Keeling, you'll be calling in hopefully, and we will definitely we got a hell of a conversation. this show works best when you participate. Anybody who knows me knows what I think about this stuff. Here we got our asses kicked in Kansas. I'm sorry to hear that, but I want to hear about it. I want to hear, you know, it's something that's really important. I'm on a quest to learn anything I can where I can, and to be a better person and to make the world better. It's what I do. The second I wake up till the second I go to sleep. And hell, I do. I do it in my dreams sometimes too. One of the things that I've noticed about making yourself better, because, you know, it's a Gandhi saying, I think, you know, be the change that you want to see in the world. And I want to see a change in the world. I want to see a lot of changes in the world. So I try to exemplify that if I can. And what I find, and as I'm learning more and studying and being around and living, you know, life is your biggest school. You know, just get out there and do it, live, show up. One of the things that you find out as you quest to make things better, to accomplish, to achieve, is a measure of success is your measure of failures. How many times did you fail? Because if you didn't fail much, you probably aren't doing much. And so to see Kansas got her ass kicked, I said, well, at least they were out there trying. Okay? Because there's a lot of places that got their asses kicked by not even showing up. And the incumbents go on, and they keep coming on and coming on. California is a horrible example of that. I'm disgusted by what's happened in California. But I'm more disgusted by the lack of vision there was. There wasn't really a lot of good choices. There was bad and worse. Again, there was the evil we know and the evil we just get about to find out. And it happened again and again and again. Some of the people that we know stayed. Makes me even sicker. Ken Calvert's still my fucking congressman, and he's a scumbag of all scumbags. I wish he wasn't here. I wish he wasn't my congressman. I wish anybody else was. But nobody else stepped up. Nobody else put the effort in to beat him. And he lost. I mean, he won. We lost. Everybody else but him. So that's the way it is. We got a guy down in San Diego that's indicted for felony crimes, corruption charges, and he smoked him over there. So that's what we do. We bring those kind of people back in. We got Gavin Newsom as our new governor. Wait to see how that works out. I'm going to throw up in my stomach. But what do we have to choose from? Do we have somebody with a vision that had some common sense behind us? I don't think so. So what do? We keep going down the same roads. We keep going down, and we keep going in these endless loops. We swing right, we swing left, and the same bullshit keeps happening. The rich keep getting richer, and the poor keep getting poorer, and we keep getting our asses kicked. And even though we feel like we're gaining on this, look at it. Look at it really. Look at it really. And see, what does it take to be legal? And what happens now when you're not legal? Okay. What happens? Well, guess what? There's a whole new set of criminals out there, because the legal guys are pointing their fingers at you. Pointing their fingers at you going, look, he's not compliant. We need to go after those non-legal people. You know, I had a conversation again with a lab. It's just a conversation, all right? I don't even have a college education, but I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time, and I'm good at it. And I work with testing labs on a fairly regular basis. And I'm working with a product that's a nanoparticle, meaning that it's a very, very small particle. And what it does is it becomes so small that it can't be seen by an HPLC, meaning the type of lab equipment used to test something. Now, I have this material made by a PhD who used to own the lab that tests it. And the guy's son is also a scientist, and he has brand new equipment to test it. And I get this nanomaterial from one PhD, and I bring it to another to get it tested, and they can't find it. I get a lab report back that says there's nothing here. And I go back to the lab director, and I say, well, you know, this is nanoparticle material created or processed by Dr. Haskin, who you know and respect because he used to own your damn company. And we have standards by which we achieved this concentration. And can you run it again? And so she runs it again. She goes, oh, well, we changed the dilution on this and we were able to now see it. But because of the particle size, we could not quantify what it is. And I'm telling myself, this is the science that we're dealing with, people. The cannabis plant has over 400 compounds in it. And I have proven to labs over and over and over that they don't have a clue what they're looking at. I've proven labs wrong, right and left and sideways with their own numbers. And none of them have an answer. And yet, we are told that our standards have to be in a certain way, and these labs are supposed to validate it. And if we're not following these standards this certain way, and these labs don't validate it correctly, then clearly what we're doing is poisonous or toxic or inferior or wrong. And that's what we've been groomed, brainwashed, talked into, convinced of. And I think what happens, and my goal with this show is to be more effective. We're going to talk about these goals and other goals. My goal is to build the A-team, and we're going to talk about that more. But in being effective, we sometimes have to look at a problem and say, how do we get here? What brought us to this place that we are willing to tell our government and the people that we're going to make this so safe that we're going to have standards that are so stringent that only the safest and most safe things will get through, and everything else is poison. And yet, there still is not one single validated case where any human being has been proven to have been killed or has died directly, specifically, and only because of a cannabis overdose. I hear people making claims all the time. Oh, the numbers of deaths are on the rise. This guy got in an accident and he smoked pot.
Fake news.
So therefore, that pot that he smoked caused him to die. Well, okay. I can make all kinds of arguments for anything. You want to get into that arena? Come aboard. Let's talk. But the truth is, if our opposition had a single case, one case of a human being ingesting cannabis to the point that it killed them of a verifiable overdose, we would lose. We would lose. So it's our complete truth of the relative safety of this plant as opposed to every other substance on the planet. And I'm not one of the safer guys. I'm not that cool, but it's true. There would be hard to find a substance on this planet that is safer than this plant. So why do we give up so easy? Why do we give up before we even start? Why do we give away everything just to get back anything? How do we deal backwards? You know, the art of the deal is to come in heavy and then give up something and get closer to what you want. But we do it backwards. We're like, oh, well, can we have something, please? Oh, we won. Oh, we're legal. And then we got people like Glenn and Peggy Keeling who are facing felony charges. We've got Darren and his whole team up in Ohio. They're getting their asses whooped, but they're going to win. They're going to win because they keep showing up. They're going to win because they're not going to take a deal. They're going to win because we stand behind them. They're going to win because we're bringing the education and the truth to the people. And Prohibition doesn't like that too much. But it only works when we actually bring the irrefutable truth. It only works when we keep showing up day after day. It only works when we stand together with some sort of unity and put aside our our bullshit differences, our political issues. This is not a political issue. This is a human rights issue. I have watched in the last, well, let's see, I was 18 and I think 1984, and now it's 2018. So in 30 some years of being a voter, I've watched our political spectrum swing far right, far left, sort of to the middle, far right, far left. And guess what? Federal government hasn't changed its position whatsoever. In fact, the congressmen that put together the major legislation that's made the changes got voted out of office. Where do we sit now? That Rohrabacher Farr Amendment going to hold weight now? Probably not so much. Is he going to do anything more? Nope, he's not working anymore. Out of office. My goal with this show and with this organization is to build a team of people that are willing to do what it takes to end prohibition, to end it, to lay the groundwork for public sentiment, to support a world where no one gets locked up for this plant anymore. What do we want? I'm going to tell you what I want. I want a world where it doesn't matter if I have a pot plant growing in my front yard. I want a world where I don't have to worry about losing my job or losing my commercial driver's license or losing my military clearance or whatever. I want a world where things are judged by their merit regarding this plant, just like anything should be. If you operate a crane and that crane kills somebody and you just got done doing dabs to the point where you can't function, then that's not the pot's problem. That's your problem. You rendered yourself useless. If you do something stupid and act in a way that harms somebody, then your action caused that harm, not this plant. You know, where's the accountability? Why don't we have accountability for our problem? Our problem is that we still live in a world where people can get taken to prison because of this plant. And we let it happen, and we still let it happen. We let it happen today, and we let it happen yesterday. And my guess is, I'll bet a nickel today that says we're going to let it happen tomorrow.
It's probably happening right now.
And until we stop it, and until we're not willing to take it anymore, and until we do everything we can, it's our fault. It's not the poor bastards that are doing what they're there to do. A rattlesnake is a rattlesnake. A crocodile is a crocodile. You go jumping into a rattlesnake pit, you're going to get bit. You swim in a river with crocodiles, you're going to get eaten. And yet we keep electing these people, knowing full well what they're going to do, and then we complain about it. I don't understand that. And I get people that are willing to go, yeah. But then when I say, well, what are we going to do about it? And I can't get them to complete a fucking little task. So I'm looking for the people that will show up and will help me end this. And I'm going to talk about more about how we can do it. Really. Not just talking on a radio show, but actually doing something. Why don't we have a plan that is being executed that has an end game? Our end games are always some bullshit legislation. And that's not ever going to be the answer.
It never happens.
I read a little thing today. I was actually posting this show on Facebook, which is a couple of times a week I'll get on Facebook anymore. And there was a video, and it was about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I've been studying people that are remarkable, I don't know, most of my life. I just got done reading a gigantic autobiography of George Washington. I got to the end of it, and I have probably very seldom been as awestruck about an individual as of this person, and the sheer volume of things that he did and the sheer volume of willingness to show up every single day and always do the right thing. And even when he was doing the wrong thing, he acknowledged it. And even though all of society said it was okay, he had a problem with it. And ultimately, before he died, he fixed it in his own self. He didn't fix it for the country, but he recognized it and he struggled with it. And all the way to the last breath he took, he had dignity and honor, and he did the right thing the very best way. And I wish there was more of that in all of us. But I just read this little blurb about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I find Arnold Schwarzenegger an amusing actor, not particularly brilliant, but amusing. I thought he was a mediocre governor, certainly not brilliant. And what I do find amazing about him is where he came from and what he did, what he accomplished, and his willingness to do what it took to get wherever he went. You know, he came to America with nothing, and he struggled and he struggled, and he had a dream and a vision, and he was willing to sacrifice, and he showed up every single day, and he worked really hard and hard and hard and hard and hard until he got something. And then he took that and he looked to the next piece, and he was always looking ahead to the next piece, and he had a plan, and he accomplished that plan. And ultimately, regardless of what you think about him and his ways and the things he's done, good or bad or sideways, he was able to accomplish without any excuses, without any reasons why he couldn't do it. I just throw up in my mouth every time people give me reasons why they didn't do something. It sickens me. And it doesn't mean it's not legitimate. It doesn't mean it's not okay. You have a right to do or not do anything. I'm not here to challenge your free will. But to be a victim about things, to me, is unacceptable. I'm not okay with that. And when you tell me that you can't do it because I got to do this or I can't do that or whatever, I say to myself, why am I working with you? Because my goal is to end prohibition, and I need a team of people that'll help me end prohibition. And that's what I'm looking for right now. And I don't need a team of 1,000 people. I don't need a team of 100 people. I need a team of people willing, thank you, to do what it takes to free these people, to free all of us. And we can do it. If we set our minds to doing it and are willing to do it, it's not going to take that damn many of us. We need to, each one of us, come together with a plan. And I have a good little team. And our next mission is to reach out and teach the teachers and inspire the uninspired and get the people willing to step up and do one more thing. Because as long as you're willing to smoke pot, you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. I'm sorry. We're all hypocrites because we're not willing to end prohibition. We're willing to smoke it when the other guy can't. I'm sorry. You know, George Washington struggled with slavery. That was a horror. It today is a horror. And he had slaves, and he struggled with that. And he recognized his own hypocrisy as he led a nation to become a nation based on the principles of liberty and freedom. And he encouraged people to stand up and fight against oppression, and yet he held people in bondage against their will. And he recognized his own hypocrisy, and he struggled with it till his last breath. I don't struggle with this. I say we need to end it. I say I'm not okay with these little baby steps. And so I'm looking to make a plan. We have a call with the executive team of the Human Solution International on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And this team is a great team. I'm so pleased to be working with them. But I want to set a separate call that's outside of this. And of course, these guys will probably be there on it. But I want to set a call for people who are willing to draft out a plan to end prohibition once and for all, to actually do it. And if you're going to get on this call, I'm going to ask you for a pledge, for a commitment. And the commitment's simple. Are you willing to show up until this is done? And not just do a little thing and then go on your way, because that's why we've lost. That's why we continue to lose. That's why we've not accomplished our goals. So I'm easy to reach. Get a hold of me. Reach out. You can reach out through the Human Solution website. That's actually probably the best way to do it, so we can coordinate this. But before next week, I'm going to have a call. Even if just one person wants to do it, I'll do it with one person, to bring one more person and get them to be committed, to work with them and inspire and forge a plan. I've got Glenn Keeling and Peggy out in Ohio, locking arms, solid. I can feel them from 3,000 miles away. I got Pete and Helen Yapel. They just came out from New York. I got Craig Cecil. Here's the reason why we do this. Calling from federal prison.
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Craig Cecil,
an inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call.
Craig Cecil, how are you doing today?
Well, good. I guess it's good afternoon to you, Joe. But sure, we're in dark and cool Terre Haute, Indiana.
So did they get those heaters going for you?
Yes, our heat is on. So we're a lot better than we were when we talked about a month ago, when it was in the 30s and 40s outside and we had no heat. That was a rough time.
So I bet your building from the outside looks like a whole bunch of little heat plumes coming out of it, with all the broken windows and all the leaky crap.
Oh, I do have a question. I saw first thing in the morning that Representative Dana Rohrabacher was trailing by 1 point. Did that ever change?
Yeah, he lost. So
he was our number one criminal justice marijuana advocate, I think.
Yeah, I just actually got done talking about that, and he'd been in office for 30 years, actually, since his district was formed, and the other side brought in a whole lot of money to get in, and they made it about things that particular district really didn't have much to do with. And he got beat. So it's there's a lot of we got some victories, but Kansas got their asses kicked from what I heard. I think Oklahoma got a victory. I haven't gotten details on it, but I think Oklahoma passed some state legislature at least.
I think let's call this from a federal prison.
Not Oklahoma, Missouri. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was Missouri, not Oklahoma. It was, I think Missouri passed something. But anyways, I mean, we made some progress. We keep making some progress. But, the thing that's funny is that there's a lot of people screaming about Jeff Sessions, how he got fired. So now everything's going to be okay, but they don't get how this works. And it's one attorney general doesn't make the law, and his successor isn't really any better than he was with regards to our policies. I don't know if he's going to get along better with the president or not, but his thoughts about cannabis are no better than Jeff's were.
I'm really not. I'm kind of at a loss to know what to expect there. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe change is good. I don't know.
Well, I think that the change has to come more from us, more from the people. We expect our legislature to fix everything, and that the rule of law is the only rule. And the truth is, public sentiment is the thing that really changes things. And unfortunately, I was just ranting about this, is we get things to the 70% mark and we let some things happen and we make it okay for certain things. And then we go rest on our laurels. And meanwhile, you know, the government's just coming to work. They don't care. You know, they're looking for a way to collect money. They're looking for a way to you know, battle demons and keep their agencies humming along and getting funded and bringing people up higher up the ladder with victories. And how do you get victories in a war? Well, you take people out. That's how you do it. And so it's continuing on, but I'm on a mission to build an A-team, just a few dedicated people that are willing to get in there and start teaching the teachers, you know, really start getting the truths about all of this and how to make real social change beyond just passing a law here or there.
That's it. Well, I'm sitting with my fingers crossed, hoping that, you know, the new Congress and the new AG, you know, changes policy into a direction we want to see. Hopefully we've got some more brave, you know, congressional members coming on board. So we'll see if they really want to follow the will of the people.
Well, I did hear that there was, and it might have just been a state bill that passed, but something that gave felons back their right to vote in a more direct way. And I think it is every felon except for murderers and sex offenders are going to be able to get their right to vote back in places that they're not. So, and I don't know if it's just a California thing. I heard it on a California news, but at least there's some social change being done. You know, there's a lot of examining of the criminal justice system. You know, in California, they make these laws that let a lot of people out, but they don't govern who gets out, right? And so what happens is they end up inadvertently throwing the baby out with the bathwater sometimes, because they let out sex offenders and they let out people. You know, we got these weird guidelines of what's considered a violent criminal. And these lines sometimes cross over into some pretty dark shit, and they let people out. And then, of course, they turn around and do the same thing that they did. And then the opponents go, see, we're just raising the criminal element. We got to get back to our tough on crime mentality. And, you know, the same logic that we had back in the 80s that caused all this stuff to happen to begin with is happening again.
That's true. And the feds, they just had a Supreme Court case that, when in application, that allows people with 3 prior convictions, 3 violent prior convictions, or 3 serious drug offenses and violent convictions, that they would get an early release. 1,400 of them have been released since the inaction of that Johnson decision from the Supreme Court. And already over 600 of them are locked back up again, many of them having committed new violent crimes. So they're saying, you know, what's the use of criminal justice when if we let them in prison in the first place, you know, we wouldn't have all these victims. It's not apples to apples. I mean, how do you compare a marijuana offender to a guy with 3 violent prior convictions?
Well, you know, that's the part that's going to require a little bit of common sense. And it's unfortunately, because it seems that there's all these politicking and loopholes. Here's an example. California got a ballot initiative on the ballot. And, you know, California is a real progressive tax and regulate kind of a place. And the state government had gotten a tax by another gas tax that added 30 cents a gallon to our gas, with, of course, the claims that it's all going to the roads and the usual bullshit. Well, some people had gotten together enough grassroots work and got signatures to get a repeal bill on the ballot. Well, what happens, though, is it has to go to the California Attorney General to get the language of the ballot. Well, they worded the ballot in such, I mean, the initiative in such a way that made people think yes was no and no was yes. And they always get the firefighters and the police to vote for taxes because that's how they get all their shit funded. So they do all these ads over and over and over again about, you know, the firefighters and the bridges and the policemen and safety and all this. And they shot down that bill that, you know, cost us an extra 30 cents a gallon. And California is taxed to the hill. We have people in an exodus because of the taxes out here. And it's just getting worse, not better. And you drive down our roads, and they're the worst roads in the world. They've been pissing away these funds. 30 years ago, we passed a lottery that was supposed to make our schools fixed. And 30 years later, and billions of dollars supposedly put to the schools, and our schools are still some of the worst in the nation. It's all just a bunch of politics, and politics begets politics. And that's what we got to get changed. We got to be somebody's got to get in there and start to have some real honest conversation about what's really happening. Why don't we dissect some of these budgets and look at where the money really went? I don't ever see that. Do you?
No, you're right. And politics rules the day, unfortunately.
No, it's so true. You know, and the people, I guess we had a pretty good voter turnout from what I heard, relatively for a midterm election. But it comes down to, okay, great. So a bunch of people showed up one day out of 365. What'd they do the other 364? And the truth is, only the politicians showed up to work. And the guys that got on the ballot, the guys that got those initiatives on, they're the only ones that worked throughout the year. And that was all we had to choose from. And it's our fault. You know, if enough people were serious about making real change, we would dedicate more energy to it. And that's what I'm here trying to make happen.
One thing I wanted to touch on is maybe a little common sense that I'm trying to apply to a matter here in the prison that really has made for an emotional conundrum for me for the last few days. Is that I've told you that there's a rash of K2 or just these chemical things that guys are taking that.
The spice.
Flopping all around on the floor and drooling and convulsing. And I mean, they call it K2. I don't know what it is, but I mean,
it's chemicals.
I don't understand why
This call is from a federal prison.
I don't know why anybody volunteered to take it.
I hear you.
But the problem is the administration is using that K2 as an excuse for everything. Just about every time I told you there's been a real rash of staff on inmate assaults lately, and all the reports seem to read that, the inmate was high on K2 and attacked our officer, so we had to beat him up.
Right.
And as you know, I fight a lot of that paperwork, but a guy that I'm the closest to at work was scheduled to be released right on January 1st. And he's getting released to a rural area in Michigan. And, I mean, he and I have been close for a few years out there, real active and all that. On Sunday, he smoked apparently, or smoked or hobby or take K2. Basically went to his cell, laid down on the floor and died.
Oh, man.
And,
wow.
So now I fight the paperwork all the time for them trying to prosecute people without any proof whatsoever, alleging that they have some involvement in K2. But by the same token, I don't want the K2 in here, and I definitely don't like what it did to my buddy, who was, like I say, he was essentially on his way out the door.
Wow.
So that's really turned out to be a mess because apparently there's no real way to test, or it's an expensive way to test that the BOP won't do, to test the substance to see if it is K2, or to test the person and see if they're high on it. But instead there's just all kinds of wild accusations. and they take away people's good time. Some of these people end up spending, 6 months more in prison over a K2 allegation where there's actually no proof at all.
Yeah, that's the problem in a place like that, is an allegation can be stronger than the truth. And what out here, at least you have an ability to, bring it to a third party. Out where you're at, it's word against word, and one word carries more weight. And that K2 is a terrible thing, man. It's
Chinese poison.
It's poison is what it is. It's these chemicals that you don't even know what they are. They change it all the time. And it's killing people all over the place because it's cheap.
Toxic waste.
Well, I'm thinking maybe the BOP and maybe the Drug Enforcement Agency needs to spend a lot of that money they used to imprison people like me or chase around other marijuana. Maybe they ought to use that to come up with some good tests to figure out, if a substance is K2 and, and really go after the K2 rather than the stuff that's not killing anybody.
I couldn't agree more. Well, maybe we'll do some research on that and, see if there's something we can do. I think we just lost him. Oh, you're still there.
Unfortunately, here a lot of people are dying.
Yeah. Well, I know the second beep already hit. We're going to lose you any second. Any last thoughts? There it was. Craig didn't seem like he was in the best of spirits today. One of the things that I'm always inspired by Craig, because he's in a spot where he can't get out of unless we do something about it. And the law is probably not going to help him anytime soon. It's going to take more than that. It's going to take public sentiment. It's going to take public sentiment, the one force that cannot be stopped. When enough people decide they really want to do something, they're willing to do it, leading by example and getting other people to stand up and lead by example and get that reaction to happen. Look at how nuclear fission and nuclear fusion happen. Nuclear fusion is very different because when it happens enough, it starts to make itself happen. And look at the star. Look at the sun out there, the source of all of our life here on the planet. Without it, we're all dead. And it's a fusion reaction. It's a type of reaction that we can be part of on a social level. What is it going to take to get one person to care? I'm going to inspire, or I'm going to ask you. I'm going to call in now, Sarah. I'm just blathering, but I'm blathering about important stuff. What's it going to take you to get one more person to come to the fold, to recognize that this is a valued effort, that this is a noble enough effort that's worth your effort, to put aside some of that gaming time, to put aside some of that Facebook time, to put aside some of that texting time, to put aside some of that TV time, put aside some of that just being spaced out time. How much time do we spend on ourselves to do nothing every day that accomplishes nothing? What if we were to dedicate 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, just that only? It would add up. It would add up so much that we would end prohibition in a very short period of time, because the growth would become exponential. As enough people would dedicate this much time and actually do it. 15 minutes a day. If you could get one person to commit 15 minutes a day to real action, get them on this call that I'm putting together. Have them reach out to me. Say, I'm willing to dedicate 15 minutes a day. And I mean it, 15 minutes a day. Some of us put hours and hours a day. Some put hours most days and don't put any effort in some days, but it's the daily effort that makes the change. There's a concept called neuro-linguistic programming, and it's the idea of how our brain works. And our brains are designed to create patterns, create habits. And just as it is a negative thing when we decide to get in a bad habit, a lazy habit, an addictive habit, whatever it is, we're real easy to do it. When we get into a habit, it's hard to get out of. But we can do the same thing with good habits. You see workout junkies, adrenaline junkies, success junkies. You see people that are driven and they get into a habit. You know, people that dominate other people. And there's all kinds of habits that this can be. But you can create a pathway, a habit. You can create a way of being that has a goal. Make the world where we can have more freedom, more liberty, less oppression, less tyranny. What if we were to dedicate 15 minutes a day to that? Get me somebody that's willing to do that, and I'll direct it, and I'll make something out of it. I promise you. I promise you. Okay. You know, Craig Cecil, if you haven't gotten a hold of him, if you haven't written to him, if you haven't let him know that you're out here and you care, you know, you might want to think to do it. He's a good guy. I've been friends with him, I don't know, probably about 6 years now. And we've been talking not just on the radio, but in person, letters, emails, and phone calls. And he's not the only one, but he's one that doesn't belong there. And when I hear his spirit kind of down, it gets me. That being said, we got a couple of people that I need you all to put some attention to. Tom Corby is going through a dark time right now, and he's not on the phone right now, and I don't know if he's going to be. I hope he is. But I've talked to him a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, and he's gotten an injury to his back, and he hasn't had, you know, we passed these laws in California that let some people do some things and others not, and it's hard. The cases aren't so many as they were, and most people, you know, aren't fighting the way they were, and we still got so much work to do, but he doesn't feel like he has much of a purpose. And I'm probably speaking out of turn, and I'm probably exposing something I shouldn't be, but I care enough about him that I want people to reach out to him and just let him know how important the work he does is, and let him know that we need him. I worry about him right now, and I definitely know how important he is to the human solution. He has inspired me from the minute I met him, and we worked together for years, fighting cases, and I've always considered him to be a pillar of confidence and leadership and inspiration. But you know, he hurt his back, and he's not a spring chicken, and you know, pain can do things to a man's mind and spirit. And I just want, if you have a prayer in your mind and your heart, if you have a thought, an intention, a visualization, however you do it, you know, please see Tom Corby. Look at his Facebook picture and see that tall, thin man just beaming with personality. See him as a picture of health. See him up there standing upright, tossing the horseshoes, you know, raising his arms in victory. We need him. And I really would like, if anybody could reach out, send him a good message. Hopefully he'll join the show today. Hopefully he'll be up to it. So that's one person. And then the second is Becca Nichols is the Human Solution Treasurer, but she's a lot more than that. She's the webmaster of the website. She's done most of the work on that website. She's been the chief editor of articles, and she's written many of our articles, press releases. She's one that shows up every day. She's never had a reason why she couldn't do it. Her and I, in a couple of ways, in a couple of times, we've told to each other in a time when we were kind of struggling as a group, said, you know what, if it's just you and me, we'll keep it going. And we agreed to that. And I know she would honor it. And of course, it never even got close to that. But, you know, when there was, you know, a lot of misinformation going on and things were going through some turmoil, she was always there. Well, she's got a dog that she's shared her life with, her companion, for a long, long time. And she's very, very close to this dog. And the dog's got lymphoma and is in a downward spiral right now. And, you know, we've done what we can do. We've sent out things to help, but it looks like it's in the last minutes, last days. And it's just really hitting her hard. And she said, you know, she's never experienced a real loss like this before. And she was going to come on the show today and share a story, an amazing story about a walk across this country. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, and hopefully maybe next week she'll be feeling up to it. But she's not, and my heart aches a little bit for her. I'm not a person that's particularly emotional generally. I'm not a person that is ruled by my feelings, but I've learned that there's a difference between knowledge and passion and sympathy and empathy and compassion. And I ask each of you who are on this show or who might listen to the show later on to reach in and look for some compassion, whether you are empathetic or not, or whether you're passionate or not, or just see if you can find it in yourself to be sympathetic. To care about the well-being of another person as though it's your own. That's a gift that I think drives this organization, and it needs to drive this organization. And I think that finding that compassion activates a neuro-linguistic pathway. If we can begin to feel compassion, maybe we can do it easier the next time and find more and more ways to do it and be driven to act. So if you can, think about these guys. They have a Facebook presence. They're on our website. They're good folks. So anyways, we got Michael and Sarah online next. Michael and Sarah are an inspiration to me. They're a young couple that came to me through one of our people that I met in Kansas when I was out helping the Carricker case. And they came to me through a business venture that I'm doing, and we're working together on a business level. But in working with them and talking to them, there's a passion, a youthful energy, a drive that I look for. And it's hard to find, because usually when you find it, it's already directed and it's already doing its own thing, and it's already not looking for help. It's not looking to help you. But these guys really seem to be true to their cause. They've stepped in and helped out with the Bleeding Kansas Advocates and Lisa Sublit's group, who is, again, one of my personal little heroes. The work that they do is selfless and compassionate and very much in line with what we do, in line with our mission and our heart's mission. And, I've always tried to be careful of breaking people. I'm one of these people that's a juggernaut. I will not be broken, and I got enough, whatever it is, to carry whatever I need to. But I have many times in my life brought, passionate people into the fold, and they want to do more and I give them more, and they want to do more and I give them more, and they want to do more and I give them more, and they break. So somewhere down the line, I came aware of that, and I've been careful, or try to be careful now, when people come in and they're exuberant, passionate. I try to be careful to bring people in a measured way and get to know them and give them a little something to do. A month back or so, maybe it was a little longer, I'm not the best with time, I noticed that they had signed up as members of the Human Solution. I was really impressed. They signed up in I think an associate sponsor level. And I was excited. I was like, yeah, you guys, I wasn't pushing for that to happen, but I was certainly excited that it did happen. And we started talking, and, we had a couple of chapters in Kansas that were struggling and not doing much or not doing anything. And I was kind of winding them down because I'd rather have, a few good chapters that are doing a lot than a whole bunch of, symbols on the wall that didn't mean anything. And then they came and they decided they were willing to set up and start a chapter. And we talked about that and what it meant. And what it means to be a chapter today is a little different. There was a time when we were very meticulous about training, and things had to be a certain way, and you had to have all these different roles and people, and it was for a reason. But at that time, we had a lot more people and a lot less commitment, a lot more people and a lot more chaos, a lot more people and a lot more people with their own agendas. Now we have fewer people, but the people that are active in this organization today are committed, and we've really created a powerful team. And they just seem to fit right in. And so they're our newest chapter that's chartered. We have another chapter coming in to play in Central California. But Mike and Sarah are just a treat to be around, to talk to. And they were very actively working in the political world. And they were campaigning and working to raise up a couple of candidates. And they're going to give us an update here. So Mike and Sarah, welcome to the show. Hang on a second. I'm clicking the button. It's not doing it. Oh, there we go. All right. Welcome to the show, you guys. How are you doing?
Welcome to the show. Hey, Joe.
How you doing?
Oh, man. We're doing pretty good.
How's it going?
Oh, man. Well, as far as the political stuff goes, I mean, we got our asses kicked.
Oh, no.
Every single person we wanted. Oh, yeah, listen. But there was a lot of things to be learned out of this, man. Even on a federal level, some real interesting things kind of happened, man. And to be honest, I would really like to know who led that part of the Republican Party to do what they did, because realistically, man, they set themselves up, starting right here in Kansas all the way to the national level. Amazingly, dude. I just can't believe, after you look at it, seeing it from how close we were to the elections and like talking to aides to these other, gubernatorial candidates and stuff like that. I mean, we were really pretty close to a lot of this stuff. Talked to some of them in person. We went to one of them's private party to watch the election. But what happened was they didn't like, or at least they said they didn't like Chris Kobach, the one that they're talking about now being the Attorney General of the United States, the one that Trump came out here and supported.
Right.
Because, for whatever reason. And so what they did was they won. Listen, the one that won the governor's seat, Laura Kelly, is a Democrat.
Okay.
And she got elected by 7 counties.
Wow.
Every single other county in the state voted Republican.
Wow.
And but she's a dummy governor.
Yeah.
The whole Senate and stuff is all Republican. They won every seat except for the governor. I mean, they might have lost like 3 or 4 out of everything, but
right.
I mean, it's a gridlock with a puppet governor. And
right.
The governor that we were so worried about getting is now going to the United States government.
Wow. Wow. So what happened? What happened with the Attorney General race?
Sarah Swain lost, and
was it close?
Derek Schmidt won.
Was it even close? Did she get? I mean, how did she do?
No, most of them did. She got blown out, didn't she?
Sarah Swain?
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them got, and that's what's crazy about it is some of these weren't even close.
Wow.
Like, it was almost like they had this stuff planned out.
The Democrats started out good, and
the Democratic Party started out good, and then they just went, the Republicans just to flip the whole thing all the way across the board, except for on the governor's level. Yeah, that's true, too. Chris Kobach has been convicted in federal court of flipping votes, and he is the Secretary of State.
Wow. Well, you know, one thing, though, and I keep talking about this, you guys got out there and did it. You swam in it. You got to learn it. I helped out a candidate a few years back, and he was a libertarian candidate running for Congress. And I never had done anything like that before, but I was part of his political campaign and helped to get out there and do it, and to understand, to learn a little bit about how it all works and what factors happen. It's not what people think necessarily. It's a hardcore experience. I didn't enjoy it, and it makes me, people have asked me many times, when are you going to run for something? I'm like, well, if I thought I could actually win in any way, shape, or form, I would do it. If I didn't have so much other work I'm doing that I think is equally as important, I would do it. But it takes such a commitment to campaign. If you're seriously going to have a chance at doing it, you have to start today for the next seat and get out there and start building your machine, start getting your messaging, start getting your talking points, start getting used to speaking in public on the camera, and to really develop that. That's what it takes today. And I just wish that we would have some people that had the ability and the willingness to do that, to get out there and do it, so that I could help to organize support for somebody. I would love to support somebody that I really believed in. This guy that I did support, I did believe in him. He would have made a good congressman. And, we thought a lot alike. And he actually, when I was locked up, was willing to put his house up. He had a beach house up in Hermosa Beach. And he actually went to put that house up to get me bonded out. That was the kind of guy he was. And that was after all of this, after he had lost. So I think that's, at least we're learning, if you don't try and fail, you don't have a chance, to get a victory if you don't try.
Well, the good thing to come out of this is, and one of the things, especially with Farrah and the Bleeding Kansas Advocates, is, these people all know us. Like, when we show up, they want to know why we want to know why we ain't legal yet. As soon as they see Sarah get out of the car, like, oh shit, there's that week. Yeah, and it ain't no joke. And we can talk, we talk to them on a personal level, like, hey, listen, bro, what's up, man? This is bullshit. You know it, I know it. What the fuck?
Right.
And honestly, Joe, the bottom line with that, what's going to happen is they are going to, restrict it on some level, on the federal level, but they're going to release it to the state. The states are going to come up with their own little laws, and everybody's going to be complacent with that and not take it to the level that, dude, this doesn't eat its tomatoes, motherfucker. If you buy it, I have to pay you to regulate this shit.
Exactly.
They're going to make people just complacent enough that they're not worried about it being that legal. I mean, it's legal, and we don't need to do nothing else.
Right,
They're
right.
not fully aware.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're just, okay, we'll go with it.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
The fight's not over, though, man. We're going to be tearing it up, period. I guarantee you.
Well, I am absolutely, if I go out to Kansas, you guys got to realize that I have to give my wife the opportunity to bring another Chihuahua into our household. And so if I see that there's some good reason to... No, it's not that. I don't want a Chihuahua. We have 4 of them already. But what I'm saying to you guys right now is, if you get this thing together, as it seems like you are, I am more than willing to come out there and help light that fire even hotter and make it happen. So that's my commitment to making this stuff happen, is wherever there's a place, wherever there's enough people gathered together to really be serious about it, I will throw a blasting cap into it. I promise you that. Well, that's how we do it. That's how we're gonna do it, and that's how you know, you guys' energy and commitment, and now that the election cycle's over, we'll hopefully be able to work together and get some focus on some specific plans to help build that support. So the next time there's an opportunity, we're not, you know, starting from second gear. We can start from the beginning and really kick it in.
Right.
So.
Well, our Facebook page is growing at a decent rate. We're up to, I think, 176 members.
Right on.
For a little around a week. So.
Well, we will definitely we'll definitely get and start promoting the active ones. And you know, we spent, geez, a year clearing out all the old pages that were not active anymore. So now the pages that are active, I'm going to start to, you know, connect together. I think there's ways you can link these pages together too. So when somebody posts on a main page, I think it'll also show up on the other pages it's connected to. I'm not sure how it works, but I think there's some way to do that.
I feel like I just see the link for that on Facebook. So if I stumble across it again, I'll let you know.
Well, we're going to be, I'm going to be putting together a conference call to work on a specific plan that's outside of our normal Tuesday, Thursday calls. And when I get a couple of people willing to get on, I'll let the key people that I think might, you know, be willing to jump in on that. And I would consider you guys as part of that, know when it's at. And I want to really start getting some focused objectives and start reaching towards it. I see the finish line. I see it. And if I can see it, it's going to happen. I can guarantee you.
Right.
So awesome. Well,
absolutely. Well, we're excited. We're feeling a little beat down today, but you know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. You just shake it off and keep rolling. That's the most important thing. Isn't so much at how you feel at any given time. Is that you just, tomorrow you get up and you just take another step. And I know you guys have that in you. So that's the key. That's how you get there, is you just keep walking at it. So I'm just, again, couldn't be more appreciative of you guys joining in. It's just indicative of how the group is growing more capably rather than just getting huge. And I think that that's what needed to happen. And I think that that's absolutely what is happening.
It's exciting.
Awesome. All right, you guys, Mike and Sarah from Kansas, licking their wounds a little bit, but they're you keep your eye out on Kansas. It's happening here, folks. And these guys are going to be a big part of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right. What happened to Pete? We need to get Pete back on the line. All right. I got Glenn Keeling. And, you know, Glenn keeps standing up as a glaring example of what we need more of in our organization. Glenn and I share a kindred spirit of just standing up no matter what, you know. And I hadn't told the story of my case to anybody recently, but I'm working on a project down in Calexico right now for a company that is got a license, and I'm helping them build out a lab. And I'm walking into it with my knowledge and experience. And, you know, we've had struggles because there's so many experts out there that know everything. And when you tell them, here's what's likely going to happen if you do this or that, and they're like, oh, no, we got this. And they got numbers and spreadsheets and crap. You come to find out that, you know, there's certain things that are important and certain things that are real. And the topic came up of, you know, where we came from and, you know, how long you've been here, what brought you to this. And I started telling him the story about my case. And during the whole story of this case, it wasn't about being right or wrong. It wasn't about, well, it was about being right, but it was more about being willing to just stay the course and to not give up. And that was one thing that I guess I was never blessed with, was what the gene to give up. If I've ever dug in on something, you can bet yourself that I'll keep going to the last the last cell I got, and that's just how it is. So Glenn has got this same sort of thing in him, and I can sense it. And you know, his wife Peggy is fragile and frail, and she's dealing with physical ailments. And I watch Glenn have enough strength and courage to stand up for the both of them. And Peggy's a good woman, and I know she's going to stand by her man. But I know that there's been plenty of times, plenty of times when it's already come kind of to the place where I don't know if we can do this anymore. And, Glenn's the kind of guy that'll just toe the line and keep going. But not only that, the important part about this, again, it comes down to, it comes down to compassion. Glenn is a compassionate man, and he sees somebody else that has a case, and he's willing to, while he's going through this himself, he's willing to reach out and help the next person. And we had a couple of people over the week that reached out to us through the website or one way or another and expressed a need for help. And one of the things that we do first is say, look, we want to help you. We will help you, but we're not going to just hand you a bunch of money, and we're not going to just hand you a lawyer, but we'll help you help yourself. And that's what happened when Glenn and Peggy came to us. And these guys did. They reached up and they grabbed onto our arm and they pulled themselves up. And now that they're standing on dry land a little bit, they've made some victories. They still got a ways to go. But they're out there helping out the next guy. And that's, again, what makes this organization, in my opinion, the greatest one there is. I don't know of any organization that does the things we do. We're not just raising money to give to somebody. We're not just collecting signatures. We're not just asking people to do stuff. We're doing stuff, and it's happening daily, and it's happening in so many ways. And just from picking up the phone and listening to somebody who's going through a horrific experience, and just being willing to listen, to getting in your car and taking a day off of whatever it is you were going to do and go sit in court for another man, another woman, another child. And so much more. So anyways, I don't know. I'm waxing poetic today, I guess a little bit, but Glenn is a good man, and I'm honored to be his friend and his comrade, and welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, man, Joe, well, thank you very much. That was, wow, speechless. Thank you very much for that.
Well, you know me. Anybody knows me. I speak the truth.
Tomorrow we are headed to Perrysburg, Ohio. There's a case. This story just started with a lady there. Don't know much detail, but you know that she is facing cannabis charges. And regardless of what the charge is, cannabis is plant. Nobody should go to jail for it. Period. But we're gonna, Joe, you're right. We've got our case that we're going through, which is a first pretrial coming up on November 21st at 9:30, Mercer County, Ohio. But yes, we're going to Perrysburg tomorrow to support this Laura and her case. We go and do support for Darren and the four there in Toledo. Support is huge, and when we're done with our case, we're still going to continue to do this because this is what we do. People need support. They need to have a friendly face when they turn around and look. They need to have a friendly face there showing support. Not only that, the courts need to see that person does have support, because Joe will tell you, you want to lose friends, catch a cannabis case or any drug case.
That's for sure.
Trust me on that. So people need friends, they need support, they need somebody there standing on their side. And that's just, it's just what we got to do. We all have to come together and stand together. Chapter in New York solidarity over separation, and that is absolutely true. We all have to stand together, solid together. We are strong, and that's just all it is. Education is another big key. And so, man, activists, listen, everybody that can hear my voice, stop asking for legalization. If you're asking for legalization, I hate that word. I hate that word. People, you have no idea what you're doing when you're trying and asking for legalization. Look, we're facing legalization here in Ohio. Peggy and I are looking at 56 years of legalization. Thank you. And it's not just here in Ohio. In every state that has some kind of legalization form or another, people are still going to jail still. And you know what? Sometimes now that legalization's around, the time's worse. We need to start focusing on, the big word that we need to start replacing the legalization with is decriminalizing. Decriminalizing, period. Start saying that word. Because being complicit to being allowed to have something as adults, we've got to stop that. We got to stop being happy with being allowed, and that's exactly what legalization does. It allows adults to be adults. I thank you and the Human Solution, man. You guys we are a great organization, man, and I am so glad to be part of this because so much support from so many people, and it's amazing and it's awesome. And Pete and Helen, thank them so much for being the people they are and doing what they do. You and Liz for doing what you guys do, man. Thank you a lot for this organization. And again, we need people to reach out to us so we can help where we don't know that something's going on. Oh, I know, buddy, no thanks needed, but I like thanking you because I like having you around. I like having you around, Pete. You're a good guy.
Pete is a great guy. Together we got to stop legalization and come together and support one another and stay strong. Well, I couldn't agree more. And we're getting some victories, and we're going to keep getting victories. And the key is, again, we got to stay the course to the end. And that's the answer. And when you guys are over your case and you're able to focus your attention on this end game, I'm going to feel so much stronger, because most of the time, and I mean so much, 90, I don't know what the real numbers are, but the amount of people that we have helped and fought for and helped to get their freedom, even after they got out of prison, the amount of people that have stayed the course and helped us is less than 5%, way less than 10%, but probably less than 5%. There's just a handful of people that, in spite of all of the efforts that we've put, and in spite of the victories, that do. But you know what? There's two sides that are the most powerful. The one side is the people that have stayed the course and won and keep fighting, because we have all the experience of the fight. We know what it's like. We have empathy and sympathy at our beck and call when needed. And just as important, I don't think quite as powerful, but just as important, maybe more powerful, because they don't have the PTSD that we have. But the people that have never had to go to jail, the people that have never lost their freedom, and they still fight and care. The ones that are fighting in the middle of it, as much as you have the passion and you need to direct your attention at you, and you can't help everybody else the same, because you got to keep that attention on you. You can't help anybody else until you're out of this. So I can't wait till you get on this side of the wall with your energy, and I know what it's going to be like when you got your freedom back.
I want to keep in mind, because when we're through with this, the big thing is the fight is never over. You know, even when we get, you know, all 50 states, the entire United States on a complete decriminalization, you know, the key thing about our organization, you know, is called the Human Solution International, because there's always going to be a human solution that's going to be solved or supported. So we're always going to be here. We're always going to be part of this organization as long as there's humans that need some kind of support for any kind of thing. We're in this for the long haul, not just for cannabis, but for the whole thing. And I mean, it's, you know, when you stop and think and you say the name and you think about what the actual name stands for, man, it's a pretty powerful, you know, when you think about it on that aspect, it is a powerful thing. You know, we're humans. Human Solution International. There's always going to be something. Cannabis now, when we get it decriminalized, sex slave. I mean, we can work on it all together, but there's always going to be something. You know,
exactly, until we finally create that world that we want. And that's, you know, that's what it all boils down to is, you know, thinking about what it is that we want, identifying it, looking at it as a goal instead of just some, whoa, I wish it was this way. Remember the old hope and change days. Well, what the hell did that really mean? You know, we never had a specific goal. We never had it. And here we are. Now we're going to make it great. Well, what does that mean? You know, why don't we identify specifically what we want and make it so? That's what we're here to do. We're here to make it so.
Right on. Listen, people, if you need help and you're in our area and you close, or you don't have to be close, just reach out. The Creative Care Beacon, the Ohio chapter of the Human Solution International, or you find Peggy Sue Kimmel or myself, Sling Keeling, on Facebook, or send me a message. Simply call to my 419-863-0498.
Excellent. Now, I'm going to have to interrupt you for a second because we just went through this whole thing and you didn't bother to bring up your call to action that we have for you. So what? I know you're busy helping everybody else, but why don't we help you as well? We've got a call to action on the website. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
We go November 21st. It's a pre-trial at 9:30 in the morning. I'm pretty much sure what we're going to do is we're going to go sit in the rotunda again, let the attorneys go and do whatever they're going to do and come and give us another court date. But if you guys want to come and support us, I mean, that's an awesome thing. It is in Salina, Ohio. Peggy will post the address. I think it's 101 North Main Street, and that's Salina, Ohio. Yeah, we're a year now. We're just a little over a year into this case that, you know, should have been a ticketable offense of $150. But not even that, but cannabis, it should not be even going through it. But yeah, it's November 21st. We're looking at decades if convicted of the charges that they have us charged with. And for Peggy or I, with her MS and at the stage that she's at now, it's a life sentence for either one of us. And that's just the way it is. Decades for cannabis. We've got 25 people here in the United States serving life sentences, and that's just ridiculous. But yes, please come out and support us if you can. If you can't, the phone number is posted there with the call to action. Please give the prosecutor and the courts a call and let them know that, look, cannabis, how dangerous really is it, and what are you doing with this case? We would really appreciate the support. But again, you got to reach out for us to support you too.
It's so true, so true. All right, Glenn and Peggy Keeling, always a pleasure, and look forward to talking to you tomorrow on the regular call. All right, we got up next Pete Yapel, and Tom Corby is on the line. So I want to thank everybody for their thoughts, and This is a man that we need whole, and we need him out there on the field again. We got a lot of work to do. We got about half an hour left, and I've got 2 or 3 hours worth of shit to talk about, but I'll just mention a couple of things. This is a case that is a little bittersweet to me because good people sometimes do shitty things, and shitty people sometimes do good things. And I wish I could understand it. And I seek to understand things better than I do. And we had a case, one of our members, and this is one of the things that, has in the past caused rifts, but we didn't let it happen this time, and we're not going to let it happen. But we had one of our members come to me and tell me that because of the behavior of one of our other members, that they were supporting in a case, and because of their political leanings and because of their statements they'd made regarding their political leanings, that they just couldn't support them anymore. And this is a good person, and yet they told me that I'm not going to be able to support your person anymore because of how they are politically and how different it is from my politics. And I, explained how we're not a political group and it doesn't have anything to do with that. And, I said, it's your choice though. We all choose to do what we want to. If somebody comes to us for help, we let people know about it. If you have a case that's involved cannabis, I'm not going to judge if you're a nice person or an asshole. I'm not going to judge if you've done other bad things to people. I'm not going to judge your political bent. I am not going to judge you at all. What I'm here to judge is our societal statement that cannabis somehow gets to be a crime. I'm not cool with that. That's why I'm here. And anytime that somebody gets accused of being a criminal because they chose to use this plant, I'm going to stand up and say, whoa, that's not cool. And I have in many cases stood up for people that as soon as their case was over, I walked away. Screw you, you're an asshole. But it wasn't about that. And it never will be. This is about the core. This is about human rights. This is about civil liberties. This is about the thing that is the reason why we're a damn country and not just another colony. Okay? And so we had this conversation, and we parted ways, knowing that we respected each other deeply and care for each other, and was big enough to agree to disagree. But the truth is, we all have a right to support somebody or not. But we as an organization will support you if you have a cannabis case. Period. Now, there have been cases that I supported that were cannabis cases that I didn't find out till the last second. Also was a heroin case. And I wasn't happy about that. But I would have supported the cannabis side of it regardless. I don't like being lied to, though. I didn't like finding out once I was watching the evidence be presented, because that wasn't the case that was sold to me. But it didn't mean that I wouldn't have supported it. I would have just been honest about what I thought about the heroin. I'm not an advocate of heroin. I'm not an advocate of any drug. I'm an advocate of our rights to do with our bodies anything we want to, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. I'm an advocate of free will. I'm an advocate of liberty. And if you want to stick substances in your body, have at it. It shouldn't be a crime, no matter what is happening, as long as nobody's being harmed by it. So a little bit later on, a month or so later, I get a message. And this message is about this person's son. And I'm going to post this on our call to action. And I'm going to encourage you, everybody who's here listening, to go to our call of action and find what I post, because there's a kid who's locked up in prison in Colorado. I think it's the county jail. And it's for a cannabis DUI where there was no cannabis involved. And the story was told on the show. I'm not going to reiterate it, but you could find it in the archive and listen to it. And I'm going to put out this. Anybody who goes to our call to action and follows it, writes a letter to this kid, takes a picture of that letter, puts it in an envelope, takes a picture of them sticking it in the mailbox or the mail guy picking it up, and sends it to me, I'll send you a Human Solution t-shirt for the act. And the reason I'm willing to go that far to do that is to demonstrate that this is not about the person. It's not about the kid. The kid doesn't know us. We've never even met him. It's not about the person who, again, agrees to disagree, willing to walk away from supporting one of our people, but then to turn around in the next breath and ask us to support her son. And yes, of course we will. Yes, of course we will, because it's not about any of us. It's about all of us. So hopefully we can keep that together and realize that when we stand up and lock arms and put our political differences aside, put our ego differences aside, put all of our humanity bullshit differences aside, and say, you know what, I don't really like you too much, but I'm willing to stand with you, and let's get this done so we can all get back to our lives. I don't know, maybe things will be better. So I believe in leading by example, and I'm going to lead by this example. I'm going to write a letter to this kid and introduce myself, and I'll get a t-shirt. So anyways, that's that. One more little story, and then I'm going to turn the rest over to the two callers. I've actually gotten through a lot of my little bullet points here. Remember this, people. Saying ain't doing. I don't know how many people come to me and tell me about ideas. I saw this. You know what we could do? You know what you should do? You know what we should do? You know what? Blah, blah, fucking blah. Okay? We need to have a meeting. We need to talk about this. Let's plan this. Let's blah, 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 blah. I'm sick of it. What I want to do is let's sit down and have a strategy conference, and let's make a plan. Let's make a specific goal, and let's say, here's our objective. Here's how we're going to get it. Here's step 1, step 2, and let's do it. That's all I'm looking for. A couple people willing to do that. That's all I'm willing to ask somebody trying to call. Blah, blah, blah. More blah, blah, blah. Anyways, put up with the bleeping. I'm sorry. This is what happens when we have a studio that is my back bedroom converted to an office, converted to a warehouse, converted to a radio studio and a landline. One day we'll have a little more complicated than that. Anyways, I can't, because if that's what you have to say to me, please just keep it inside. Don't even talk. I don't want to hear what you can't do and why you can't do it. I really don't. There's so much that can be done, and I watch the people that do things and they overcome and they make it happen regardless of what. If you're not in that league, that's fine. There's plenty of other things to do and plenty of other people to do it with, and this group can be helped in many ways without you hanging out here in this A-team. And I don't mean to be exclusive, but I mean to be truthful. And that's just how it is. Well, the team that I'm putting together, I need commitment, I need focus, I need willingness, and we will end prohibition. This I can assure you. So let's raise up, let's find it, dig inside and find it. It's there. Trust me, it's there. And let's step up and let's make this thing happen so we can all go hang out and go fishing or do whatever, or leave each other alone, whatever. Let's have that freedom because we don't have to worry about cannabis anymore. All right. I'm going to flipping my coin here. Tom Corby's on the line, and I want to hear what he has to say. But my guess is if he's on the line, he'll stay on the line. So Pete Yapel is going to come on now. Pete and Helen Yapel just flew all the way out to my place from New York and spent 3-4 days with me, and it was quite a joy. And we just got to work together. They just dropped into our world, and we just kept going the way we do. And we got to work together and get to know each other a little bit more. And I tell you what, this is part of that A-team. We've got Pete and Helen and Glenn and Peggy and a handful of us that are, just committed to this end game. And I'm looking forward to really creating this plan together with you guys. Pete, welcome to the show. As always, a pleasure.
Hey, Joe, so glad to be here. I wish I was sitting there with you still.
Soon enough.
Honestly, brother, I want to apologize to everybody for taking up so much of Joe's time last week, and then
Stop it.
Just getting involved. Two of us just getting involved while I was there. We didn't do a special show or anything. I do want to apologize for that, first of all. But I've been listening, Joe, and honestly, and I'm going to say this with every, and you know me, I don't say things without conviction. And I'm saying this with every bit of conviction that I have in my bones. I have always been asked why I haven't ever thrown my hat into the political arena. And my answer has always been, I'm a different person than I was yesterday. I was a different person than I was 5 years ago. And I'm definitely a different person than I was 10 years ago. So what my life was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even yesterday, doesn't matter to me. But after listening and after this election and after all of the hubbub that's going on, I mean, people didn't vote conscience. People didn't vote, let's make real change. People voted hate. People voted hate for a government that's in system. And when you vote for hate that's the government and system, if you still don't vote for the right candidate, you don't do the right thing. So, today, I will say on your show that in 2 years from now, I'll either be running for president, or 4 years, I'll be running for governor.
Awesome.
Yay, Pete.
In fucking hell? Absolutely not. I have no chance whatsoever. But what I can say is this, that everybody that listens to your show, everybody that listens to my show, everybody sees you out talking and enjoys your product, everybody sees me out there, they will learn that this means business. The only way to end prohibition is for us to get involved. Not any longer and wait for others to be able to get in there and make a difference. It's time for us. We're 60% of America. Let's ride. I don't care what people hear about me. I don't care the disgusting stories you might hear about my previous marriage and how terrible a human being I was, or whatever else, because all that smut comes out, whether it's true or not. But what I will say is, I'm tired of other people. Sorry, I got a truck driving by me. I'm tired of other people making decisions for me. I'm sick and tired of having to. Yesterday, I spent 6 hours. Yesterday, I spent 6 hours of my day sitting with two people that want to get off of heroin. Okay, they want to stop taking this drug because it's killing them. I sat with a mother who cried while these two people sat there, and I have to treat them. I have to get them this, but the only way I can do it is illegally. Let's be realistic. We cannot get people that are on heroin off of a drug that they like to get high with, because these two are not medical patients. These two are just young people that in this crazy world of, when I was young, we smoked pot, we drank beer, we tripped a little bit, we did some, heroin was around, speed was around, but they were for the drug addicts. You know what I mean? They were the drug addicts. They were the terrible people. Well, guess what? Now we're making those terrible people, and we aren't doing anything to solve it. So it's time for people like me, people like everybody else that listens to the show. If you're an activist, you want to make a change, let's make noise. Let's do something different. This is different. Yeah, we had some people run in states that are pro-cannabis. I'm not pro-cannabis, people. I am cannabis is a fucking blade of grass in my yard. So I will fight for it like that every single day of my life from now until the day that I fucking die. So I think everybody has to understand that this is to a point of importance where the only way something will get done is if we really make a stake. And unfortunately, you guys are going to see all this crap out there now for me, because I've been Googling all day what I got to do to get my name into the political arena. I will be putting my name into the political arena. I will ask for everybody's support. Even if you don't live in my state, please do all you can to share. I live in a state where fucking Mario Cuomo's demonic son now has another 4 years here because people were afraid to vote. And not only that, we have New York City here in New York. You have to remember, they make all our decisions. We can vote however we want. We can be in fights on Facebook all we want. We and our decisions are made by the people that live in the city of New York, which encompasses 1/10, if that, of our total mass of fucking a state. And sorry for my language, but I'm so pissed off. This son of a bitch only won New York City, and that's how he won the election. You can't win a fucking city, for Christ's sake, and govern a state. And I'm fucking tired of it. And that's where I stand, Joe. And I'm sorry for rambling, but you know me when I get excited.
No, your passion is unparalleled. And, like I said, if we had somebody to support, and if you're willing to announce your intention to run, then let's build a machine. Let's make it happen. There's nothing that tells me that you can't do this. 100%
honest when I say this time. I mean it. I'm going to do everything I can, because I can't sit back and let other people make my decisions any longer. There are far too many of us, and I'm just talking about us human beings in this world that are every single day kept down, not heard, not a part of anything. And if you're not a part of the oligarchy, you're not a part of anything here. And we have to change that. And people say all the time, oh, how can we change it? We have the greatest voter turnout in centuries. Yeah, but still only 12% of the people voted. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, isn't it? Come on now.
Yeah, the bar was pretty low, that's for sure.
Don't vote, but don't think. Period. I mean, that's the end of the day. It's 12. We're allowing 12% of the people in this country to make our decisions. Who are we to say anything?
Well, tell me, how did Larry Sharp do? What kind of numbers did he get?
Well, he didn't do great. He came in like third, but let me tell you something. Again, it became a whole thing. This is what happened in the state of New York, and it happens all over the country. Larry Sharp had an incredible platform to truly change the state of this state. What people did was said, well, he's a third-party guy. He ain't got a chance. I'm voting red or I'm voting blue, whatever their thought was. And that's what happened. I mean, not for nothing, the Republican Mark Molinari, he's been a mayor since he was 19, his youngest mayor, and da-da-da. Well, you know what that tells me? That tells me the man's a career politician. That tells me he has zero of my values or thoughts in mind. If you're a politician, you don't think like a human. You think like a politician. If you're a human, you think of the other human. And Larry Sharp was a human. And that's the shit. That's the shame in in him not getting elected or representing us. But what I have to say in what something about Larry that's impeccable was when he spoke at the end, and he said at the end, when he conceded, of course, he said, "What have I left for you? Everything that you brought to me, every idea and thought and change you wanted in this state is out there, because I visited all 62 counties. I heard everybody, and I talked to the people, unlike the rest of these candidates. And unfortunately, that doesn't have value with Americans anymore. And that's a shame, man. They vote out of all the crap they hear. And I don't care if you like Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump. Why vote for somebody just because they're not in the same party for him if they're going to screw your state up?
I just had an argument with a cook today at work for the same thing, because he voted Democrat because his wife told him to. Because your wife told you to.
There's a word for
Hey,
that.
listen, my wife tells me a lot and I have to do it. But I'm a vote. She ain't got a goddamn say that.
Well, I think maybe that's
Thank you, Liz.
maybe that's part of what we need to do is educate people, not just to inspire people to do this, but to educate people on how to do it, how to be thoughtful with what you're going to put your attention at. If you're going to go to the poll, maybe how to research, how to, there's a lesson in this for us on how to educate people correctly, how to craft our message to raise people up to be educated. Remember, our founding fathers realized that most people are going to be dumbasses and not vote in an educated way. That's why we have the Electoral College. And I wish I could say they're not right, but we don't have to be that way. We have the ability to raise ourselves up to any intellectual level that we seek to, and maybe that's on us. Maybe that's what we need to do, is wake them up and teach them how to pay attention and how to make an educated choice and put your free will to it and a little thought.
Absolutely. And listen, I heard a lot of crap about Trump's speech today with Sessions leaving and all that, and everybody's all up, hey, Sessions is leaving. Listen, they brought an idiot that's is bastardizing the marijuana, as he calls it, because anybody in politics that calls cannabis marijuana is against it, period. And when the word marijuana is used in a political field, it's a bad word. So this guy's just as bad. So don't jump up and down because Sessions is gone. That ain't gonna make a goddamn difference. But the people that got all over Trump for the way he expresses himself, for people that get all over Trump for the way he expresses himself, I should say, and the way he comes off, he's a New Yorker, for Christ's sake. Have you listened to me talk? Listen to my wife, right? Yeah. Put some ass on the freaking hair on us. You're hearing the same thing. Why? Because we don't care. Listen. We have coddled feelings for so long. We've been politically correct for so long.
They created nothing but a bunch of pansy asses in the process.
Right. So what we have to do now is grab a hold of our big boy or a big girl panties, pull them up, take it on the chin when you're being a wussy, and freaking let's get this shit together. I mean, we're a fat, lazy, drug-addicted society by design. It is by choice. It's by design. They made us fat, lazy, and we fell into it. That's right. So let's do this. Let's elect a president. Let's elect a governor. And listen, let's put it this way. The presidential election's in 2 years. So there's my hat. Anybody that wants to support me, I'm going to fill out the paperwork this week. I'm going to start the petitions, and I'm going to run for president of the United States.
There we go. I love it. Well, finally, we've got somebody I can actually get behind. So we'll take it from there, and we'll learn from the journey, and hopefully we'll get some victory. All right, you guys, we're running out of time. I always appreciate you being here, and I love the New York way. you know, I come from pansy ass California, but I don't act like the pansy ass Californians. So, so, anyways, I definitely I can identify with where you're coming from. That's for sure. All right, always a pleasure. I can't wait to see you guys again in person. You are absolutely a delight to be with and be around, and glad to have you as part of the family, both of you.
Absolutely. Peace and love to the family out there and the whole Human Solution family, everybody. You need me, reach out, 845-522-3162. Find us on Facebook at Cannabis Country or Solidarity Over Separation, the Human Solution International. I forgot to pay my bill of that. I probably didn't. I'm on my way back right now. I just forgot to pay my bill up for dinner. Thank God Ellen works there. I'm not president yet, so I can't get away with that.
All right, you guys. Well, get on to your bill paying.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so that's Pete Yapel again, Solidarity Over Separation chapter of the Human Solution in New York. I got one announcement to make. Today I approved the graphics for every single one of our chapters is getting a new banner. So we've got it ordered. We got the graphics done. So if you are part of a Human Solution chapter, there will be a new banner in your future. So hopefully you like the designs. We actually, Becca Nichols put most of the work into the design of them, and I think they're cool. It's a new look to the banners. It's got our new logo on it, and everyone has a unique little characteristic that I think exemplifies each of the chapters. So, all right, we're coming to the close here. We got George Martirano and Tom Corby to close it down. So George Martirano, longtime friend of the show. I met George when he was languishing in federal prison, and we have been friends ever since. When George got out, about a little more than a year ago, I was out in Rhode Island on a business trip, and he drove, 6 or 7 hours to come up and meet with me, and we hung out for like an hour, and then he went back. But I got to smoke a joint with George, one of my heroes. This is a man who was incarcerated and languished in prison for more than 30 years. And rather than being beat up and destroyed and bittered and just turned into a lousy human being, he carried himself with dignity, as all of the great leaders of the world have done. If you look at most of the modern great people in the world, they've all undergone some tremendous hardship and used it to mold themselves, to forge themselves, to become better and stronger, and to not be broken by it. And George exemplifies this, and he's getting himself up and out of it now. And I'm proud to be standing with him, and look forward to seeing his new shop that's coming up out in Philly. And welcome to the show, my friend George. George Martirano, you there? Oh, man, you got a terrible signal. Can't hear you. You there? George? George Martirano. All right, Mary, maybe I'm gonna go to Tom, but Mary, if you can put him over to the green room for a second and see if you can get him on the line. I think he's not got the phone to his ear. Anyways, there's 2 minutes left in the show. We can go long, but if he falls off, he won't be able to call back in. So if you can, Mary, if you can get him into the screening side back, perfect. Thank you. All right, Tom Corby up next. Tom, you are a legend among Human Solution members, and tell me you're feeling a little better, please.
I want to thank Joe and Coffee Party Radio Show. George Monterano, Becca, Mary, and all those on the front line come together, volunteering to be the solution to end prohibition and free all our POWs.
90 seconds.
I want to thank all the folks out there, Joe, for the evening thoughts. I spent 5 days in the hospital, and I think that the 5 days in there has helped heal my ruptured disc in my back. I want to thank you also, Joe, for sending the meds, the oils, and the rubs that I'm sure are helping.
60 seconds.
I want to mention this brace that I have for people. Well, so many people have lower back pain. And this Dr. Ho, H-O, you can Google it. This is not only a belt, it's a brace, and it also does traction. And when you put the belt on, you pump it up with air, and it actually holds your back together, and it's helped heal my back.
Oh, good.
So I just want to mention that, to the folks out there that have back problems, and you can use this throughout the day. It'll help you. And Frank and Ann's right here wants to say hello. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Frank. How's it going?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Tom, I don't know if you heard, but you guys got a new banner coming your way. I says the NorCal Human Solution chapter has a brand new banner coming to you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's a new it's a new design. I think you're gonna love it. Becca designed it, and it's got it's not just a generic banner. It's got some real character to it. I think you're gonna like it.
Great.
So
that's great.
I just
we'll have 2 banners.
I just sent it to order today, so it should be coming in a few days, and then I'll send it off to you as soon as I get it.
All right, did you send it to me?
I will.
I was just asking if you sent it to me.
Oh no, I don't. We don't have it yet. They just went to the printers today, so they'll be ready probably 3-4 days. So you tell me where to send it, and I will.
Just send it to my box, Joe.
Okay, we'll do it.
Bring it up personally.
Yeah, Tom, I made you an offer. I could stand by that. I don't. If I come up to see you right now, I'd have to go up there and be back in a day. It'd be really harsh. But I could bring you down here for a few days. Just saying.
It's always nice to have you. It was good to hear today that Jeff Sesson has resigned. So I think that's going to give us a better opportunity to fight the war against cannabis. Okay, well, I don't take any more time today. I want to thank you all.
Well,
and,
Tom, I got to tell you, you sound better today than I've heard you in a while. So just keep doing what you're doing. That's all I can say.
Okay, well, and I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers and hanging on from day to day.
Oh, you betcha.
Okay, well, thank you all. And don't forget to breathe.
All right, Tom. I'll talk to you soon.
Got to bring in Willie.
All right, you got it. I'm going to check and see if George is here again. All right. George Martirano, tell me you're here. George Martirano.
Calling George.
Calling George Martirano.
Please come to the front desk.
All right. I don't know what happened, but it's on the record. We tried a couple of times. All right, George. Well, we'll try again next time. Folks, I appreciate you being here. Remember, everything I said, I mean every single thing. And I might be a little harsh sometimes, but you know what? I've been locked up for this plant more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. And you know what? That's reality. And I've had my stuff taken. And you know what? That's reality. I've had guns stuck in my daughter and my wife's head. You know what? That's reality. And so if you got your little feelings hurt over anything I said, get pissed off. Maybe decide to do something. You don't have to do it for me. Do it for yourself. Do it for somebody else. Find some way to do something a little bit more. And why don't we just end prohibition? We'll see y'all next week.
I am Willie Nelson, and the Willie Nelson Teapot Party and I endorse the human solution, supporting cannabis prisoners because no one should go to jail for a plant. The things I should have said and done, you were always on my mind. You were always on my mind.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
There we go. We did it.
All right.
In the can.
Five o'clock on a Wednesday here.
That was a good show, sir.